John Gill Exposition of the entire Bible. Revelation chapter 7 verse 14. Scripture quote, "And I said unto him, Sir, thou knowest," unquote. John Gill quote, "John replies in a very humble, modest, and respectful manner to the elder, calling him Sir. According to the usage of the Eastern people, it is observable that this word is much used in his gospel and more than in any other book. See John chapter 4 verse 11. Some copies in the compulsory edition read, My Lord, and so do the Vulgate Latin, Syriac, and Arabic versions. John confesses his ignorancy and ascribes knowledge to the elder and desires information of him, for the sense is that the elder knew who they were and from whence they came, but he did not, and therefore desires that he would inform him. And so the Arabic version renders it, And my Lord, thou art more learned, that is, than I am, and therefore instruct me as he accordingly did," unquote. Scripture quote, "And he said to me, These are they which came out of great tribulation," unquote. John Gill quote, "Seeing this company designs all the elect of God that ever were, are, or shall be in the world, the great tribulation out of which they came is not to be restrained to any particular time of trouble, but includes all that has been, is, or shall be, as all the afflictions of the saints under the Old Testament, from righteous Abel to Zacharias, and all the troubles of the people of God in the times of the Maccabees." Hebrews 11, verse 35. "All the persecutions of the Christians by the Jews at the first publication of the gospel, and the persecutions under the Roman emperors, both pagan and Arian, and the cruelties and barbarities of the Romish Antichrist, during the whole time of the apostasy, and particularly the last struggle of the beast, which will be the hour of temptation that will come upon all the world, and in general all the afflictions, reproaches, persecutions, and many tribulations of all the saints, and every member of Christ in this world, who in the New Jerusalem church state will be come out of them, which supposes them to have been in them, and yet were not overwhelmed by them and lost in them, but by divine support and assistancy, waded through them, and were now quite clear of them, and never more to be annoyed with them." See Revelation chapter 21, verse 4, unquote. Scripture quote, "And have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb," unquote. John Gill quote, "Not in the blood of bulls and goats, which could not take away sin, nor in their own blood and their sufferings for Christ, on which they did not depend, knowing there is no comparison between them and the glory revealed in them, nor in any works of righteousness done by them, which are imperfect and filthy, and need washing, but in the blood of Christ, which cleanses from all sin. The robes, which they washed in his blood, may either design themselves, their consciences, which this blood purges from dead works, or their outward conversation garments, which have their spots and need continual washing, or else the robe of righteousness and the garment of salvation, or their justification, which is by the blood of Christ." Romans 5:9. The act of washing from sin by the blood of Christ is sometimes ascribed to Christ himself, as in Revelation chapter 1 verse 5. But here to the saints and designs the concern which faith has in the blood of Christ, which deals with it for justification, peace, and pardon, for the removing of sin from the conscience, and for cleansing from all impurities, both of flesh and spirit. And the effect of this is that their robes were made white, that is, that they were freed from all sin, were without fault before the throne, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing. This shows that these persons had no trust in themselves or dependency on their own merits and works of righteousness, but wholly trusted to and depended on the blood and righteousness of Christ, which is the only way to come out of tribulation and enter the kingdom. End of John Gill's Revelation chapter 7, verse 14.